I'm on at a really different time this morning, but I know a lot of people listen to InfoWars and the Alex Jones show, but the only one I worry about this time of day is David Knight, of course. So Alex lost my interest some time ago. Not that he hasn't done a lot of good work, because he has, but it's just that he's just gotten me too discouraged and too upset too many times for what he does, and I don't like listening to one continuous run-on commercial. So there are some other people that might be up this morning. 5x5, great. I know I'm kind of slouched down here. I've got, let's see, maybe I can fix this. Let me see if I can. We'll see if I can fix this. Maybe raise it up a little bit and then point it down. Maybe that's the way I need to do this. Obviously, I'm on the road a little bit, so I've got a lot of readjustments to do. That's a little better. Okay. Today is what? The 28th of March, 2023. Welcome as you come in. Hi, everybody. Like I say, this is kind of a different time, but I don't want to interfere with a lot of other important people that come on today. For instance, the Redacted, Judge Napolitano, Alexander Mercouris, Alex Christoforou, Brian Berletic, Scott Ritter, etc., etc., etc. The Duran. I'm probably walking over some of those, but I'd rather do it now during this period of time. If you want to go see Alex, please go do so. Like I said, I gave up on that some time ago. And in that vein, Greg Reese came out with a real scathing report on Donald Trump and his betrayals and his lies and his deceits. I'm wondering how Greg Reese will fare this, considering what Alex did to David Knight. When David Knight tried to stand up for the truth, Alex, which was basically backing Trump and the entire situation with the Stop the Steal and OWS and all of that stuff, Jones ended up firing David. Now he'll have a different story, but I think I'd believe David Knight before I believe Alex Jones. Under the circumstances and with the other things that I've had direct association with, or not direct, but pretty close relations, contacts with Alex and his crew on certain things. And I won't go into that, but I think David Knight's probably telling the truth. What's going to be interesting is now that Greg Reese has come out with this report, and I think it's on gregreesereport.com. I don't know if he posted it on InfoWars, but regardless, because I don't go to InfoWars anymore, it's very possible that Alex will take some kind of punitive action against Greg Reese. If he doesn't, then of course that just proves Alex has double standards and may have had some other gripe with David Knight that wasn't legitimate either. One little piece of information I got to tell you. I've done you a disservice this morning. I've had 2 cups of coffee and now I'm having a latte. Okay? So what does that mean? It means that after I get the call-ins going, I might have to get up and go take an emergency break, if you get my drift. It's really good, though. You know, I didn't drink lattes. I think most of you know, I didn't drink coffee either until, not at any substantial amount, not any regular timing, regularly, until my deployment in 2001. And I had a Dutch sergeant major. I'm sure I've told you this story before. I had a Dutch sergeant major who would make me coffee every morning. It was gosh awful stuff. I think it was actually from the Netherlands, and he made it like it was turpentine. It was really, really strong. And Gerald doesn't bash Trump. You haven't. If you're talking, I'm talking about Greg Reese. If you go listen to Greg, I'm not going to tell you where to go find it, but he came down on Trump real hard. Greg Reese did. So go check it out. gregreesereport.com, I think, is where it is. I doubt very seriously if it'll end up on InfoWars. It might. Anyway, I'm not here to argue that. You go find it. You'll see what I'm talking about. I would have put a link in here, but didn't think about it until just now. Anyway, so getting back on the issue here at hand, a a lot of crazy things are going on, and I decided that I needed to come on this morning on a call-in show. I don't have the call-ins ready yet. The number is in the title. You can go to the title of this video, and the number is in there. You can go there and find out what the number is. They did not put it in the description box because in the description box are two links. The first link is to a lady's Twitter account called, her name is Ray, but she's a medical doctor. She's Catholic, so she and I have some disagreements on things about that, but that's okay. We're friends over Twitter, and we communicate occasionally. And she always has good things to say. Well, she started another Twitter account, something like Beautiful Things or something like that, because we talk so much about the negative things so often that she felt like it was very critical for us to have beautiful things in our lives. And so in the description box, that first link is to her Beautiful Things Twitter account, and they're beautiful paintings, pictures, just things for you to look at and to enjoy and to feel fulfilled with beauty. Okay, so I wanted to give that little information on her account. And the second link is to the David Knight Show. Now, David Knight is on Twitter at Libertarian, at Libertarian. So you can go to his Twitter account to do what I'm going to ask you to do, which I put out on Twitter this morning. And I would suggest also going to the link that I have in the description box, the davidknightshow.com. Always good reporting. He's very thorough. He takes his time and gets through the information that's necessary. He doesn't have a lot of breaks. You know, he's not doing one continuous run-on commercial. But what I heard this morning, because of what I've been doing, I haven't been keeping close tabs on this. He has a fuel gauge on his show to show when he's running low on money. And I got a notice today from a person who said that David Knight's fuel gauge is not, I guess it's only on half full, and it's towards the end of the month, so it's really in bad shape. So if you are so inclined, because David does such a good job and he's been mistreated so badly by InfoWars, Alex Jones in particular, and the YouTube people and the social media people in general. So he's not been able to get the type of monetization that he needs. So he relies on donations, and he has some things that he does advertise, and I think he has some things that he sells now every once in a while. But if you can go to thedavidknightshow.com, and if you can find it in your heart to either donate or buy something or whatever, I would certainly appreciate it, and I'm sure David would as well if you go and do that to support his very superior show and analyses that he gives us all the time. So with those two things out of the way, let me see what else I got here. Before I turn the call in, the number on, right now I've got the speaker off and the phone off so that we're not interrupted. I did want to bring up a couple of issues that I've been dealing with in the last few days. If you all don't know, and I haven't verified this outside of some trusted Twitter accounts that I follow, so I haven't gone online and double checked all this, but it wouldn't surprise me. Apparently on the 1st of April, whether this is an April Fool's joke or what, this Saturday is supposed to be the Trans Vengeance Day, something like that. I've seen a lot of information on it. Again, I have not verified that it's in fact true. It might be an April Fool's joke by some people, I don't know. But with the events that we've been seeing in the last few days, actually for quite some time now, there have been a lot of these violent attacks by these activists in that group of people. And I was actually in a very heated exchange with one of their supporters on Twitter yesterday and this morning. I finally blocked the character. If you want to see who I'm talking about, go to my Twitter account. On Twitter, it's, you can get it by going to the community or the About tab on my YouTube channel here, and you can go down, you can see the Twitter account there, or you can just go to Twitter and type in @RoystonPotter, it'll take you to it. And I don't know. There are several of these, and I finally blocked him, so you may not be able to see it all on my account, but you'll be able to see who it is, and if you want to go watch what happened, you can do that. Pardon me. So, at any rate, this person said that because of the way that certain churches, governments, organizations are trying to stop the changes to children and to people, primarily children, that we've caused them to react violently against us, and that it's justified on their part because we're denying them what they want, their so-called rights. So now our rights have moved from our own right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to our right to force on parents even the desires of a community that wants to ensure that your children follow in their example. I'm really talking around the tree here, okay? Because for a lot of reasons, obviously, I can't say it exactly. But it really is militancy. It's moving towards violence more and more. And yet the FBI is going to say, I just know it. Well, we can't do it, even though they've called for it. These people have called for it. It's not an organized group, so, we really can't do anything about it. It's like they said about Antifa or the BLM. They didn't say it so much about BLM, but remember, the FBI bowed down to the BLM and to Antifa. Remember, kneeled to them. Well, to these people, it'll be the same thing, okay? They're going to say they can't do anything about it, even with all the threats and even with this thing that happened over the last few days. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about with the shooting that took place. A lot of people are pointing some things out about it. I'm not going to go into what really happened, whatever. The point is that the powers that be use every tool they can to divide us. And when one of them starts to slow down or not to work so well, they move to something else. Wow, the wind, by the way, is really blowing here. So this is not a new one that they have, but this is one that they're exploiting now, and it's with a really dangerous group of people, just as dangerous as those that are in Antifa or the Communist Party. Actually, I would trust the Communist Party more than I would Antifa or BLM or these groups about the Tran. Again, I'm kind of being careful about how I say it, which is a real shame because they can say whatever they want about us. They can say they're going to do violence against us. They can call us names. They can say that whatever they want about us. But if we try to defend our position, it's hate speech. And so the social media platforms will take disciplinary action against you, founded or unfounded. It doesn't matter. They'll just do it. It's happened to me several times. Principally over how the FBI acts. That's usually what I get censored for my complaints about that. But at any rate, so there are some really serious things happening. This could be really, really bad. And when you have what I'm going to say are mentally challenged, mentally ill people that have been stirred up, and I'm not just talking about MK Ultra or any of those things. I'm talking about this could be part of that as well. When they get stirred up, these people that I saw a tweet here the other day that if somebody wanted to have their arm cut off, they'd be put in, for no reason, they'd be put in a mental institution. But if you're going to have your lower parts or your chest area or whatever cut off, altered or whatever, the state supports that. And the laws in so many places support that. Doesn't that tell you that we're in a lot of trouble? So I tweeted some of that information out this morning. I blocked this dude who was wanting to get into an altercation. I bantered with him a little bit, but in the end I finally just said, enough's enough. And I blocked him. So you can go look at that if you want. I'm not even going to mention his particular Twitter account, but that was what occurred. We don't want to engage these people with their own dialogue and, well, it's not a dialogue, but their own verbiage, their own vocabulary, and try to defend ourselves by declaring our innocence to those charges, because all you do is play into their hands by bringing the information up. If you would like to, you could go to Twitter again. You could go to @StephenCoughlin. You'll see it on my Twitter line if you like. Pardon me. And Stephen Coughlin has Unconstrained Analytics.com. I think it is. It might be .org. I don't recall right now. But he talks about this situation where they try to draw you in and get you to use their vocabulary and their terms in order to argue the case. And we can't do that anymore. I'm still guilty of it. I know. I'm kind of doing it a little bit now. We need to go from a positive side and even accuse them of things like ignoring the natural law, for instance, committing immoral acts against people who are not able to make their own decisions by every other law that's out there. We know about the efforts to reduce the age of consent. Again, read between the lines here on some what is usually, reserved to adults. They're moving that slowly down. We are living in a very, very evil, evil time. But if we engage them using their own vocabulary and their own methods, we're not going to be able to keep up the fight, because we're just basically moving into their hands. So Stephen Coughlin explains it much better than I can. All I'll just say is you don't want to use their vocabulary to respond to what they accuse you of. You want to accuse them of immorality, illegality, all those things, and then promote moral behavior. That's what you want to do. For instance, the following of natural law. They'll try to say that natural law, as it is a social construct and that it's evil. No, they're creating the social construct, which is opposite to the natural order, the natural law. So they're trying to turn all of that around and place what they're doing on our shoulders, and it's just not true. And we just have to stop it. Now, the GOP, the GOP establishment, as many people call it, that's their job. They are the left's right arm, really. They pretend to be in opposition to these things, but in reality, they give in very easily, and they don't just compromise, they hand over almost everything that these radicals and these leftists want. And I'm using terms that I don't really like, but for the sake of everybody here, I'm trying to use things that they'll understand. So at any rate, we're in a really tough time right here, and we've got to understand how serious this is. These people are coming after your kids. They've already said so. Okay, if you don't know about that, you need to educate yourself. Which brings me to another point. Sometimes I wonder if maybe we should just let them have their way. We need to stop them from getting to our kids. But in their own actions, basically they're following a lifestyle that will cause them to go into extinction. Maybe that's a just reward. How we allow them to go ahead and extinct themselves by engaging this behavior and still protect our kids is a little tricky to do, but I think it can be done. So we just need to stand our ground, not argue with them on their terms, but on ours. And I'm sure if you go to unconstrainedanalytics.org, I think it is, you can check that, or .com, I can't remember right now. Stephen Coughlin is extremely intelligent, and his writings are sometimes hard to follow, but I think you'll get the gist of it if you look at it. But I've kind of summed it up here at this point. Okay, I could talk a lot about what's going on, of course, in Ukraine. Our banking system is falling apart. The southern border, the situation with the Russians and the Chinese and the Indians and the Iranians and the South Africans, et cetera, as I talked about the other day, forming a new global currency system. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's going to cause the United States to become more and more desperate the leadership, the government, the powers that be. And as I said the other day, as they lose their grip on that, they're going to turn their weapons of war against us. It's already happening. Okay, so just be aware of that. And I've said that so many times, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I just wanted to make you aware that we have to keep that in the forefront of understanding what's happening. You are the enemy to these people. A couple of other things I might mention, and then I'll start taking calls. And that is, it's kind of a spiritually related thing, but I'm going to say this for those who might want to bring this up in the chat, or I'm sorry, not the chat, but on the calls today. Let's keep the calls when I get the number up and I get the phone on. Let's keep the calls 30 seconds to ask your question or make a comment, all right? 30 seconds to ask a question or make your comment. Then let me respond so that we can get through more calls, if we even get any, okay? I'm not going to be watching the chat that close. Let's see if I've got it up here. It should be coming up here any minute. Let me see here if we've got it coming up. Yeah, it is up. So I might gaze over at the chat if I need to, and that'll give us another venue. All right, so I've got that here. That's not the primary purpose of this live stream today, but just in case, we have a lull or something, I might look at that. All right. By the way, I know I look really scruffy. I'm at that point in time of growing this beard where, it's not quite filled in and it looks a little unkempt. But I'm just going to keep it going. A lot of people have said they like it. A lot of people said they don't. They think it looks dirty. Look, I'm doing it not just because I want to for a new look. I'm doing it for a particular reason as well, which I kind of hinted at in the video yesterday with some of the lighting in the background. I can't really say much about it, but that's kind of what it is. The hair growing, it's going to be going for a while, but I'll probably end up trimming that up at some point after I get done with this other thing that I'm doing, okay? So thanks for putting up with me. Okay, a couple of these things that I wanted to bring up that are kind of spiritual. I just want to put them on your table so you can, chew on them once in a while and just think about it. I would rather people believe in something larger and greater than themselves than nothing at all. However, it's interesting that people who are moral innately, I know I'm not going to define that, but you'll see it by their fruits, you'll know them, right? People that are moral innately and have a spiritual orientation, even if they're atheists, if they do Christ-like things, if they try to treat others as they would want to be treated, if they are good to the people that are down on their luck, if they're not nasty, mean, thieves, etc., I think they have what people would describe as the Spirit of Christ, and I've talked about that before on Twitter. I think it was actually on a TikTok thing, but it made it on Twitter. There was a young man, I'm not sure where it was. He was going around to homeless people, and if they had some food or something like that, even a few cents or whatever, he would go up and he would say, look, I'm having a real hard time. I haven't eaten in days. Do you have a little food or change you could spare? And these homeless people, now he probably cherry-picked some of these, but still, the principle is right. These homeless people shared what they had with him. Now, I saw that when I did my homeless camps documentary. You can see it in the playlists under films and documentaries. I did it back in 2011, and I went around to all these homeless camps, and I saw this kind of giving and fellowship amongst these people. But here was a stranger that came up. These people had never seen him before and said he was hungry or needed a little food, a little money for food or whatever, and they would give him what they had. It's sort of like the widow's mite. She didn't give much, but she gave all she had. And so this guy, he thanks them and he walks away, and then he comes back. This is emotional. He comes back and he hands them an envelope and gives them a hug and walks away. Now there's a camera off in the distance that's watching us, and The people open the envelope up, and it's money. It's obviously foreign currency. I don't know where this happened, but it's a significant amount, and these people break down and cry. So for their small little effort to help a person that said that they were in trouble, this great Christian, and I'm going to call him a Christian because Christian is a lifestyle, even if I don't go along with the extant version of things. The Christian lifestyle is still heads and shoulders above almost any other. That, and you could be Muslim, Buddha, anything. It's how you act with people and what you do. And these people cried, and some of them tried to run up to this gentleman and say, "Look, you gave me something you shouldn't have. There was money in it." He says, "No, that's for you." And they'll hug, and it's very touching. And I, that's where we really need to be. That's where we need to be as a society, instead of these people that are out there saying if you don't go along with their program to assault you and your life and your kids, then they can do violence to you. By the way, I got to back up just a minute and say one more thing. Those of you who follow me, you should know what my lifestyle was back in the 80s and early 90s. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, that's not the issue. The issue is that myself and my family were extremely persecuted, much more so than these oh man, I don't know how to say this again without getting in trouble. Like the person that did the shooting this last week, okay? It was really bad. It was to the point where threats were made on our lives, financial assaults, thrown out of homes, refused rent, refused jobs, refused employment, brake lines cut. I mean, it was really bad, okay? We went through a lot of terrible things, and it was hard to keep the family together with those persecutions that were going on. I'm not going to get into the details. It's mostly in my autobiography, which I thought the new edition might be out now, but it's still not. They're still working on it, I guess. I haven't pressed them on it. I told you that a new edition of my autobiography might be out, and I still haven't gotten word on it. And I'm not pushing them, so that's another issue. But at any rate, these people that are crying the blues that they've had all these things happen to them, and it justifies them doing violence to others, even because we won't allow them to do to our kids what they think they should be able to do, all right? They think they can do violence to us. Myself and my family, we didn't react that way. We didn't react with violence. Oh, I fought them in the courts, absolutely. But I didn't go out and start doing violent acts to others because they didn't go along with my particular philosophy. Self-defense is one thing. But to try to push that into the realm that these people now are doing, it's not self-defense, okay? It's violence for no good reason. Just thought I'd bring that up, all right? Okay, these issues that I wanted to bring up real quick, sort of the spiritual things. If you've noticed, I've done some discussion on the Gnostics, Nag Hammadi library, and its relationship to the Old and New Testaments. I did that several weeks ago. It's something I studied back in the 90s, back in the 90s in great detail. So it's been a while since I've been there, but I wanted to bring up the fact that a lot of people say, they talk about the Demiurge. If you don't know what the Demiurge is, there's this creator God, or this superior, supreme God, unknowable God, etc., who a demigod, the Demiurge, is created by one of these superior supernal gods, eons, as it's talked about in the Gnostic Gospels, which are sort of like archangels or that kind of a thing. Okay, just so you know. And in the pleroma, in this spiritualized place, there's no material worlds and all that. So this happens with this eon, this female eon, and I'm not going to get into who that is. Some people say it's Lilith, others say it's the name of Sophia, but that's immaterial to what I'm going to talk about. The creation, or the child that she has, is called Yaldabaoth, and he's considered the Demiurge, the evil material creator. in the Gnostic scriptures, okay? In other words, all this material creation is the result of this evil demiurge. In other words, this being that's between the supreme God and us, and he considers himself God, and he's responsible for all this. Well, the first thing I'll say about this is, wow, he's not too stupid if he was able to bring all this about. You can't tell me that he doesn't know stuff, right? Which is what they try to talk. I'm pushing my hair down here because it's growing, it's still curling up, and I hate that. This demiurge, even in the Gnostics, as wicked as he's supposed to be, I think he did a pretty good job. And is it really imprisoning our souls here? Is that really what that's about? Well, that's what the Gnostics say, that he's made all this material stuff so that he traps our souls here, and he's trying to steal our souls, and the only way out, of course, is the exit, right? Well, however that might be, I want to point out something in the New Testament. The Old Testament God he could be loving or he could be vengeful, even resort to violence or allow violence to happen. That's the Old Testament God. And people will say, well, that God is not the same God that Jesus comes from or that is. It's different. So there's all this big change in the New Testament that we're getting away from this old God. And a lot of people that follow the Gnostic idea will point out that the Old Testament and certain aspects of the New Testament, even though they'll talk about the Christ and all of that, they talk about this difference in these two gods. All right? I want to point something out to you. There's a demiurge in the New Testament. Are you aware of that? It's actually also evident in the Old Testament, but I'm not going to go there. That gets into some complicated things in the Hebrew. I'll tell you this, okay? In John 1, the Gospel of John 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and by him and through him were all things made. In other words, he's the demiurge in the New Testament for this unknowable God. So the demiurge exists in the New Testament scriptures, and you don't even realize, a lot of you. But it gets worse. Is he only a loving God, or does he have a judgment of violence? If you don't think so, go read the book of Revelation and look what this God says he's going to do to people who don't follow the program. Violence. I'm not going to spell out what some of these are, but some of them are the plagues that he's going to afflict men, and they'll want to die, but they can't. And he'll cause all these destructions, that their eyes will melt away in their heads and their tongues out of their mouths. Wars. Okay? So don't think that by that example alone, what the punishments, what the violence is that happens in the book of Revelation, if that's the same being, the Alpha and Omega, Jesus, as most Christians would say, I've talked about that and why there's some problems with that, but that's okay. As opposed to the Old Testament God, you'll see that they do the same thing. Depends on the circumstances and the context. I'm just going to say that. So anybody who says that the Old Testament God is different than the New Testament God, that the Old Testament God and Jesus are two different spiritual systems, go back and read Revelation and see how the violence comes down from God there and how he pronounces it. Same like in the Old Testament. Okay. All right. Let's see here. One last point, and then I'll open up the phone. There are people that say you can't be Christian unless you believe in the Bible. Huh. Well, as I've said, I see people who are Christians in everything that they do, even if they don't know Jesus, because of the way they do things. They do those two great commandments: love God to the best of their ability, as best as they know him, and they love their neighbor as themselves. In other words, they try to do the right thing. But there's more to it than that. as far as Christians are concerned. You have to vocally say you believe in Jesus, and this goes into some force in Paul that I really have a problem with, as I've discussed in the past, Pauline epistles. Force, which I won't get into here. My point is this. If you can't be a Christian unless you believe in the Bible, what did the so-called Christians do for the first 300 to 400 years when there was no Bible? Are they not Christians because they didn't have a Bible to believe in? The Bible wasn't put together. There were some hints of it in the Council of Nicaea. There are scholars that will say, no, they didn't talk about that. They only talked about, the Arian problem, whether Jesus was divine or not, and some of that. But and I made the point that it's really intolerable foolishness to think that they didn't consider some of the texts that they had in those days with their decisions. But regardless of that, whatever happened in Nicaea definitely had an impact on the Council of Hippo, the Council of Laodicea, and the Council of Carthage, where the canon was decided upon. Now, the Jews had done another thing altogether. There's some disagreements on that, too. I maintain that it was primarily done at the Council of Yavna around 100 AD. But regardless, I'm talking about the Bible as a whole. It didn't exist, ladies and gentlemen, as such until about 400 AD. Now, because of that, you can't say that you can't be a Christian unless you believe in the Bible. It doesn't work. It's more about your heart than it is about anything written anywhere. As a matter of fact, there are some people that, like I said, that don't know anything about or have rejected Christianity and the Bible because of the inconsistencies and those types of things that I've discussed, who are better Christians in their heart and mind than professing ones. So here you have a problem. You can't say that you are not a Christian if you don't believe in the Bible. If that's the case, you're throwing away all those Christians from the first through almost the 4th century. Okay. I guess that's enough of my pontificating. I'm getting some other messages here. I hope my battery's not running down. Okay, I'm going to turn on the speaker. And
Power on.
The phone number is listed in the title there. And just so that you know, I don't even remember it. It's 385-258-6127. Now again, if you call in, please don't give a life story. Okay, we want to hear from as many people as we can. I mean, I'd love to have a conversation with all of you, but sometimes that's just not a good idea, right? We need to kind of keep it moving. It might be that I take up too much time, like I have here. All right. But let's consider the other people that might want to call in. So keep your question or your comment to about 30 seconds, and then I'll try to address it, okay? And we'll go from there. And it'll take a minute for the phone to boot up here. Thank you for putting up with my... my hair's going to have to grow about another inch before it lays flat. It keeps poking out. I watch Jackson Hinkle quite often. I like his
Bluetooth connected.
I like his style and the fact that he's such a young man and he's done so much to really get information out. It's really amazing to me. I really appreciate him. But he has looks like we got a Washington State caller, so we'll go ahead and take that one. Okay. All right, we've got you on air, but can you wait just another second or two? Are you there? Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Well, now I can. So hold on just a minute, and I've got just a couple more things I got to say, but I wanted to get you on here. So Jackson Hinkle, he's kind of like that. He likes to move along as quick as he can. So here we are. Looks like we've got a problem with the phone here. Are you still on the line with me? Looks like. Okay, let's try this one now. Okay. I think I may have hung up on you by accident. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, where are you calling from?
I'm actually from Florida.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, but okay, good. Well, we won't talk.
Washington phone line from Florida, though.
Okay, that's okay. Well, what would you like to talk about?
About the recent school shooting, there's some people making connections on Twitter that this could be Antifa splinter cells that have been activated. People are making connections with flags that they have in these. I know that this person, young lady, was transgender or whatever, probably on SSRIs and hormone replacement therapy and everything else. But I do believe this is something that is going to continue. I think people need to be, as you say, stay strapped and always look for your surroundings. Don't let your guard down. These are going to continue. They're probably going to attack. I'm surprised that it happened at a Christian school, but Jane Fonda was on The View saying that the only way to get revenge is murder. She should be raided by the FBI and charged with terrorist activities, propagating violence, in my opinion. But that's all. I just, pray to God that everybody will be safe and stay in the Word and just protect yourself. I appreciate everything you do, Roy.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you. And I'll just comment. You can go ahead and hang up, and I'll just respond real quick. Thank you. And that's why I tied in this whole thing with the FBI and its reticence to go after Antifa, BLM, those things. They want to concentrate on, people that are talking about the Constitution and problems with, our system and trying to get redress of grievance. That's the criminals. Those are the criminals as far as the FBI and the Department of Justice and even the Department of Defense is concerned. And we could throw in the ATF and the Department of Treasury and everybody else. But yes, there's no doubt, and he's right, that there's a link between Antifa and this whole trans thing that's going on. We saw it before, so yeah, it's absolutely true. Okay, let me see who this is. All right. All right, I think I've got you on. What would you like to talk about?
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Hi. My name is Becca, and I'm from Arkansas.
Arkansas.
And,
oh, great, wonderful place. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Good.
I like it.
Now, let me just ask the people here. Can you hear the speaker? It's up about as high as it'll go. And she's a little muffled.
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're a little bit kind of far distant sounding.
Okay, you're sounding better now. Yeah, keep the microphone a little about where it is from your mouth now, and you should be real loud and clear.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
All right. I have a couple of questions for you, and the first one is that originally the landowners that were in America, they were the ones that voted, correct?
You mean in former times?
Yes, like back originally when
Yeah.
our country started, doing all that.
Yeah, you were required actually to be a landowner because you had to have a stake in the outcome. People that don't have a stake in the outcome shouldn't be dictating to everybody else. So yeah, that's true.
Okay. And to go in kind of with that, when women were given voting rights, do you think that it fell into a lot of the issues that's been happening for a while, and then obviously up to now, because women are deemed more emotional, and also I guess it's a third question: what is the difference to you between emotional versus nurturing? Because to me, true nurturing, when you look at it as women being primarily the nurturing ones, that there's not a really, a strong sense of nurturing, in my opinion, in the women today, because most of the time, to me, when women talk about nurturing or whatever, they usually don't even use that word. But they usually, in my opinion, they're saying, okay, nurturing is acceptance and kindness on anything.
Yeah, I'm going to sound. Yeah, I'm going to sound
I'll
sexist.
bring up and let you answer
Alrighty.
the question.
Oh, well, thank you so much for bringing it up. It's kind of a trick question for me. Not trick, but kind of a trap. But I usually spell out how I actually feel unless I can't mention something because of the censorship. So
okay.
I
certainly didn't mean it to be
Oh, no,
question.
you're fine. It's very courageous of you to ask this. And I'm going to answer it pretty much straightforwardly, okay? All right. Okay, take care. Okay. So you may hear the phone go off here. I'm going to turn down the volume just so it doesn't bother everybody. Um, I think everybody knows where I stand with the way mankind is supposed to work. And there are philosophers, Christian, religious leaders, people like that will say things like, there should be this equality amongst men and women and all that. And I have seen that there's a problem with that firsthand. And when you mix up the roles, you start ending up with the problems like we're seeing today with this whole trans movement, for instance, just as an example, and there are a lot of others. Yes, originally you had to be a landowner, but even if and most women couldn't own things, and I'm not saying that that's right, but I think it came from the point of view that they wanted to have a consistent voting base that understood what was going on and had a stake in it. Frankly, she's right. I think there is a difference between emotions and nurturing. A good nurturer will not let her emotions get in the way of disciplining her kids and making sure that despite the fact that she loves them, she's not going to allow them to get away with misbehavior. So in that regard, she has to set aside her emotions that might say, I just want to love my kids, I don't want to get them upset, and I want to give them everything they want. And the mother who will say, no, you're going to have boundaries because I want you to grow up understanding that you have to discipline yourself. And so I'm going to nurture you in this regard. You're going to have these responsibilities and you're going to act in this way. Now the state is trying to take that over, which was the whole reason why this whole women's lib movement started, and caused all these bifurcations and multiple situations, because they want to break up. As I think most of you know, I'm very very tough on the man-woman relationship. I consider it to be a foundation, and I don't mean it has to be. Well, you know my background, so that's all I'll say about it. Whether, however you put that together, the man-woman relationship is what's important, and that everything from the beginning of this age has been to break that bond. We see it in everything that's happening, okay? Everything. That's the thing that's attacked. That's the one thing that's the same throughout all of the attacks, the wars, everything, is to break up that relationship. So do I feel that women have a role that should take precedence over everything else? Yeah. I think a lot of people are finding out now, and this, again, a lot of people might not like me saying this, but I will stick to it. A lot of these women that are being told that their career is more important or whatever, and they lose out on the childbearing years and the time to get a good male companion. And I guess in a lot of these situations, the way things have changed with the entertainment industry and news and institutions, educational institutions, government, all the things that have happened, women are thinking that they deserve the 1%, less than 1% of the men who make six-figure incomes and are 6'2" and dark hair, that icon that they have in their heads. And that's just the problem. Are some like 60%, I don't want to exaggerate, but are 60% of the women out there really looking for that same 1% male imagination that they have? Well, if they keep that up and they don't take their life seriously, what's really important, what they were created to be, which again the system is trying to destroy, I've talked about it a lot, then they arrive at a place where they become lonely. And you'll see, and alone, they don't have family, and I've seen this personally. They become cat rescuers, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but when you have abrogated what you were created to be because of the real social construct that has been foisted upon us by evil and designing people, you end up in the situation we have today, and it's a big reason why our society is in so much trouble. So yes. Okay, let's see here. I might have to come back on, and I'm going to raise up this. I hope I answered your question well enough that you feel that I gave you how I actually view the situation. So the call lines are open again. I turned up the volume on this. All right. While we're waiting, let's take a look at the chat. Jesus was real and any documentation is gone. There's your sign and told me we are greater than he in our possibilities. Well, he even said that, big bad John, didn't he? He said, greater things will you do than I have done because I go to the Father. So you're actually kind of right. The manifestation of that spirit is supposed to be in his children, in mankind. And that's why I've talked about the image in Genesis being Zelem, which is showing righteousness on the earth. Okay, let's see who we got here. All right, I think I got you up. Hi, how you doing?
How's it going?
Good. Who are you? You don't need to tell me
Hey,
that.
this is Mark, trying to be the liberated son of God again. Just calling from Alaska. Sorry I called in
Alaska.
again. I don't mean to bug you.
No, that's all right. That's all right. No problem. Go ahead and maybe keep it to about 30 seconds though, so that we can move on. I think we're getting
I'll
lots of
try.
buzzing.
I'll try. I just wanted to, say a good message about truth, beauty, and goodness. And so my understanding, I'm not trying to put this in anybody's reality, but reality for me is, we all live in a third dimension, which is the height, width, and length. And for me, the fourth dimension is time. And for me, the fifth dimension is consciousness. You got conscious and subconscious. And the sixth dimension is space. So within that height, width, length of time and space and our consciousness, are we, part of the vine and having good spirit fruits, caring for others, and, being humble, open-minded, thankful, and forgiving in our lives? Because when we do in that height, width, length of time and space and consciousness, we experience time stand still. There's more than enough time, more space, more joy, and more happiness when you're part of that vine. But when you're not, what happens is time drags on. We experience less space, more confined, and it's very uncomfortable. So I don't know why anyone would want to be part of a broken olive branch on a dollar bill that's not part of the vine, that's some federal branch, executive branch, or legislative branch. No, I'm part of the vine. Now, I'm not saying that the material world is evil in any way, but, in that tree of good knowledge, one part of the brain has been denied. And so there's good and evil in the spiritual, and there's good and evil in the physical. And I think that's my 30 seconds.
Well, I appreciate that, and I agree with you. A lot of people think when they go to the other side that, there's nothing but love everywhere, and, everything is peachy, and everything's perfect and all that. I hate to tell people, but my experience has been that the same spirit that you cultivate here goes with you on the other side. So if you're an angry, mean, evil person, you don't suddenly transform on the other side. What you do is you separate yourself out. The separation occurs, and
absolutely, brother. When we try to push the past into the future, what happens is we come to a greater level of consumption of products, and they deplete. And people are wondering why there's going to be no more products in the world. Maybe people should stop trying to push the past into the future. That's called being a bull man. Why don't we try it? Does it take more energy to attract the past or attract being the light? If we're to be an example and a light on the hill, don't you think it's better to just be that example? Anyway, I'll stop. I could go on for hours, but you get my point.
I do, and I appreciate what you said, and that's why I wish the United States would be that light. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later. Okay, let's see if I've got this one. This is a Nevada number. Have I got the right person coming up on my phone here, or did I get the wrong one?
This is Nevada.
Okay, good. Sometimes
Hey,
I'll answer the line, and for some, this is a really cheap phone that I use for the call-ins, and it doesn't always work just the way I would like it to. So anyway, go ahead. What's your comment or question?
Yeah, well, Rob, a long-time listener. I think you're terrific. Great teachings. The more I read, the more people read, the more people learn, the more they realize how corrupt everything is. And like you say about the Bible, there's no telling in many cases what is truth and what is fiction. But I'm still a strong believer in Jesus. Regardless, he is the answer for all the questions. But my question for you is, have you ever heard of Russell J. Gould?
It's kind of ringing a bell, but I'm not certain. Maybe you could explain real quick who he is or what he did. Is he on
Yeah,
YouTube now?
he's the Postmaster General of the United States right now. He did those videos, the last flag standing.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about his position, but now that you mention, I have heard that. Yes. Is he?
Yeah, I just thought he was very.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Actually, you go ahead.
Okay, I was just saying he's a very interesting person. Got some great points, and once again he talks about the corruption in the world of the bankers and how they've taken over everything illegally, and how all the elections we've had in this country in the past, well, at least since 2000, have all been fraudulent. We have no government right now. So we came out of bankruptcy for the third time, and that's how he took possession of the flag. And he's a very interesting guy. If you get a chance, I would definitely, Google him and maybe get in touch with him, because he's doing some great stuff also.
I think I have run across him. Isn't he associated with, I forget her last name, but I think she lives in Alaska, Anna something, who's kind of a constitutionalist up there. And she talks about, I guess she's like a judge in the alternative court system.
I'm not sure. He could be associated with her, but I don't know. He's
yeah, I think they're kind of together. Yeah.
I was going to say, basically, he's kind of like you. He's a lone wolf in many regards.
Well, yeah, and I don't mean to be that. I was kind of forced into it. If you stand up on your own and you bring the world down on you, it's interesting. I'll just, now that you mentioned that, I'll just bring it up because I think a lot of us are experiencing this. I think we really do have a different spirit, and we walk into a place, and especially now with the people that have received the extant treatment, read between the lines, I've noticed that it has even gotten worse, where you can walk into a room and the people will just turn away. They really, there's definitely a spiritual confrontation there. Not that we're trying to do it, but they see it and they turn away. And I've actually witnessed that. And some people say, you're just, silly, you're paranoid, you're schizophrenic or whatever. Look, I'm a trained observer.
You're right. It's like you said, Roy, it's cognitive dissonance. I mean, people have been accepting lies for so long. When they see the truth or hear the truth, they won't even, they'll laugh. Yeah, they won't even accept you.
And I think
it's astounding. I'm reading a great book now. It's called American Betrayal by Diana West. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's a great book. It tells about all the lies associated with World War II and what a communist Roosevelt was, and Harry Hopkins. I don't know if you're familiar with Harry Hopkins.
Yes. Well, we've been betrayed up and down, lied to, betrayed, had our substance stolen, murdered. I mean, it's bad. And yes, you're absolutely right. Which that's why they call this a prison planet. I guess we are in kind of a hell here in a lot of ways. Well, thank you for your call, sir. I appreciate you. Okay.
Thank you, Roy.
All right, out here.
Thank you for all you do. God bless you.
Thank
you. Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right. Yeah, it's crazy how. Okay, let's see if I got your 386. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. What's your comment or question?
Well, this is Penny. Hey, Roy.
Hi.
I wanted to know, I started reading a book about Donald Trump last night. It says Too Much and Never Enough by his niece, Mary Trump.
Oh, yeah.
And it says how my family created the world's most dangerous man. Says that he dehumanizes people. He's a witch. He's a clown. Malignant narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder, self-defeating behavior, antisocial personality disorder, sociopathy, chronic criminality, arrogance, disregard for others' rights, dependent personality disorder, hallmarks inability to make decisions or take responsibility for any decisions, can't be alone, he isolates himself, institutionalizes himself, and shuts himself away because he can't stand to be around people. He can't survive on his own in the real world. That's the reason he institutionalizes himself. You know, his sister's or his niece, well, I don't know, one of them's a PhD and one of them's a judge. I think his niece is a PhD psychologist. She says that he meets all 9 criteria defined by the medical the Mental Health Society. He is defined by all 9 of them. He has all of these dissociative disorders, and that's why he still today won't take any mental health tests.
Yeah, I think I've talked about a lot of this in the past. You know,
Yeah.
I gave Donald Trump a chance his first year in his term in office, and slowly I had to start and be really critical of what he was as he turned out. And I think, you know, I'm not going to back away. I've said that he's a betrayer, and that he has let us down. He grabbed a conservative Christian group who believed that what he said was real, and they all continue to follow him because he has all those things that you're talking about, which is why which is why I mentioned the Greg Reese report earlier in the show, because finally people, even in Alex Jones was starting to back away from Trump, but Greg Reese really set the table on that, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Well, thank you for calling. I'm going to take another caller, okay?
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. All right. So, yeah, I'm critical of Trump. But, you know, all the politicians are the same. You don't aspire to a powerful political position unless you have some degree of psychopathy and sociopathy. I mean, it's almost like a prerequisite. There are exceptions. There's nothing wrong with being a confident person, you know, and I could name some people that I think fall in that category, but the position is selected. We don't elect these people, not at that level. It's selected, and they select them for their narcissistic, demonic attributes. That's just the fact of the matter. We had a call here a few minutes ago that talked about FDR. Perfect example in our system. So, yeah, there are some real problems with, trust no politician. I like that. Rastafari? Yeah, you comment quite a bit. That's great. Let's see, on the chat here, let's see if I can hit some of those. Daughter married, now a physician, husband. I was going to say with the last caller, the book by Trump's niece, Mary, and I forget her last name. You know, I imagine that, you know, she's probably approaching things from a fairly truthful position, but she has an agenda too. So I would read those things with some caution. I think I would verify it by watching what Trump does. And I've pretty much done that. I've never read Mary's book. I didn't need to do that. I could see it. Like I said, I gave him about a year, even with the backtracks he made and the mistakes he made, from saying that Hillary Clinton and the Clintons were good people right after the election, holding up the LGBTQ flag during his campaigning, his situation with attacking Syria for no reason, lies from the military-industrial complex, and you know, with the missile launches and things. And then, of course, the situation with the Las Vegas massacre, and then the red flag laws and all that. Okay, I recognize this caller. How you doing? I won't say your name. I'll keep you I'll keep you quiet, but it's good to hear from you. What you got? Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, good. Wow, Royston, Don Spencer here.
Yeah, you didn't have to say your name. I was trying to guard your privacy. But good, Don. Thanks for calling in. What's your question and comment?
Well, I just wanted to say hi and bye real quick.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, you're one of the people that send me lots of information. I have about outside of the outside of the intelligence people that I deal with on a regular basis. I have a group of you, and you're one of them that send me a lot of good information, and I want you to know I appreciate it.
I hear that. I can't remember whether it was you that connected me with Bettina or it was the other way around, but I'll never forget that because
Yeah, that I'm not sure of. Yeah, Bettina was amazing, and I miss her to this day. I actually, I hope her husband doesn't get upset, but I appreciated and respected her so much that I actually, there's a picture of her on the
Oh, man. Well, I just wanted to say hi.
Okay, well, I appreciate
you know how
it,
I feel about you. And anything that I would ask a question about, you already have asked that question, and because we're so much on the same link.
Well, I appreciate that, Don, and keep it up.
Yeah.
I do pay attention to what you send. Thanks so much.
God bless you.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
As I was saying about Bettina, there's a picture of her in our remembrance videos on her, and I had to make a print of that, and it's up in my room along with many of the other people I have so much respect and love for. So, if you don't know who he's talking about, it's she went by the name of Nancy Morgan Hart on Headlines with a Voice. She had that. She gave it over to Felicia Lockhart, who now has that account. But Nancy Morgan Hart's real name was Bettina Ursula Brancato, and I would say that she's one of my favorite people that I've ever had any contact with. Okay. Let's see if we got any others coming in here. We've been going for about an hour and 10 minutes. We did pretty well. Let's see, looking at the chat. Oh yeah, Key Grace. Yeah, that's what I'm saying about Mary. Key Grace says she does have an agenda. Her dad was a bad alcoholic, died young from drinking. I remember that. She blames the whole Trump family, other brother, mom and dad, and Trump. She sounds like a bastard. Yeah, and that's why I say I didn't bother to read her book because I could pretty well peg Trump anyway. But I think some of her points are even though I wouldn't take all of them, okay, because you have to look at it with a careful eye. I would say that she has said some things that are obviously true, and others that are obviously her particular viewpoint, which may be skewed because of her own personal experience. Big Bad John, yeah, Bettina had a great spirit. Like I said, she was, to be the kind of friend that she was to me was amazing. I mean, it was just amazing. And like I said, despite her intelligence and her beauty and her courage to speak out, even under a pseudonym, which she did to protect her family, the fact of the matter is that I liked her because she was real. She could cuss and drink like a sailor. We had some really interesting phone conversations. Again, like I said, I never met her in person, but man, she was just amazing. The people that knew her personally on a day-to-day basis were very, very fortunate. Okay, I screenshot the picture, Roy. Really? You mean this one? Yeah, I don't know if you mean me or if you mean of Bettina, but yeah, Bettina. I remember there was an individual that wanted to know if she was hot or not, and his name was Ed Eldon James, I think, something like that. This was back like 5 years ago, and he asked on a live stream, and she was listening in if I could verify that Bettina was hot or not. And he called her Nancy Morgan Hart at the time, and I had not even seen Bettina in person. Well, not even a picture. And I got a text from her with her picture. She took a selfie and sent it to me and said, "I want you to know that you don't have to hem-haw around anymore about what I look like. I've kept it out of the public eye because I don't want people to listen to me because of my looks. I want them to listen to what I have to say." And she sent me this picture, and it knocked my eyes out. And my first question to her, I'm honest here, right? Considering her intelligence and how she handled herself, and now I see this picture, and she's knockout beautiful. And I asked her, "Are you married?" I did. And she said, "Yes, I'm married very happily. I'm married for love, not for money." So I respected that, of course, and I got to know her husband over the phone. And, we were all there when she passed, not on location, but because that was during the whole sickness thing, and people weren't allowed in there. So we did send our love to her over the phone. Okay, how many believe he's the Messiah, that Trump is Jesus? Oh, a lot of people, Penny. There are people in Jerusalem or in Israel that still believe that he is. Yeah, even now. And considering what Netanyahu's doing to screw Israel, I mean, he screwed up the whole country in so many ways. He's been a tyrant in so many ways. The whole thing over the sickness and the treatment that he foisted on those people against their will, etc. And some of the things that he's done against the U.S., really, we're supposed to be allies, and some of the things he's done have been really, but we've done the same thing to him. My point is that Netanyahu's a piece of crap, okay? That's not anti-Semitic. I'm attacking the man, not his religion. I'm not even sure he's a real Jew. In the case of a Torah-observant Jew, I doubt very seriously if he is. But anyway, that's a whole other story. If he was, at least I have a little more respect for him, but I think that's all a facade. Okay. Can I call in? Yeah, anybody can call in. I don't know that I'll be able to answer you. Like if I'm on another call or something, I may not be able to get you on. But yeah, go ahead and dial the number. That's okay. We'll go there. By the way, just so you guys would let me know, is the speaker loud enough where you're hearing the calls when they call, the callers when they call in? Oh, Ariana, Global Optima Tarot, you're Bettina's sister. Ariana, I've been wanting to talk to you for so long. Okay, everybody, I'm putting you on hold here. Could you call in, Ariana? Would you mind? Ariana, you know how I feel about Bettina. If you have any inclination to call me on this line, and then I can give you another line where my regular number. Please do that, Ariana. And if I tell you what, even better, Ariana, text the number here, the 385-258-6127. If you don't want to go on the air, I understand. Text me at 385-258-6127. It's in the title. Text me and tell me it's you, Ariana, and then I'll put your number in my contact list. I won't call you. We'll text back and forth, but that would just be very special to me if you would be so kind as to do that. Global, I gotta write this down. This is absolutely fantastic. So that's you, Global Optima Tarot. Let me write that down. Pardon me, everybody. I gotta write this down so I don't forget it. Global Optima. I'm glad I saw your chat message here. It could have slipped by me. To be honest, I think what caught my attention was the lips. I think that's what got my attention. But that's good. I put up the red lips and I'm going, what's that? And then I saw your name and I went, wow. I feel very, very blessed that you would contact me in this way. And if you'll text me on this phone at that number, we'll just text back and forth until I find out, where you are, and not location wise, but if you feel like discussing things. I think Felicia has talked to you, hasn't she? I think Felicia Lockhart has actually been in touch with you, and you guys have talked on the phone. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Ariana, your sister is courageous, brave, beautiful, and a legend as far as I'm concerned. And I feel very fortunate to have had the contact with her I did. As you know, when I did her remembrance video, I didn't see it while I was doing it, but the camera picked up certain things that were happening. The light that followed the flagpole staff over and then came down to my right shoulder and then back. The fluttering through there. At first I thought it was an insect when I first saw it, but then when those other things, because I didn't see any insects that day, and then when I saw all those little lights going back and forth, not that she's a light, not that she's an orb, but that's kind of what comes through sometimes. And I can tell you some, and you may know about some of that as well, but I definitely felt a very close kinship with her. I really did. And you had a crush on her, Roy. Well, who didn't? Whoever said that, who didn't have a crush on Bettina? Even before they saw her in picture. Matthew D. Word, yeah, Roy had a low-key crush. Oh, I mean, absolutely. And really, I respected, obviously, her marriage situation and her husband, who, I've talked on the phone since she died. But yeah, I mean, who didn't have a crush on her? Wow. I mean, she was Roy's crushes, lots of that. Way to own it. Well, why not? I'm not gonna, deny that. There are only two women I've met in my life that I felt that close of a kinship to, that close of a connection. My wife, Carol, who was, she was my fourth wife. I think most of you know that. And I've had some concubines too. We've talked about that. The other wives left because of the stresses and the strains and the persecutions and all the stuff that was going on, which I'm not going to get into. It's in my autobiography. But Carol stuck it out, and she and Bettina were unbelievably similar. Unbelievable. Probably spirit sisters. As a matter of fact, I was allowing some people to basically demean me in some regards on a live stream one day, and I don't remember all the circumstances, but it was a guy who turned out to be as we did the research to find out who he is. He was basically a government operative. I'll just put it that way, and. Bettina, saw how I was allowing this guy to kind of bash me around. And she called me on the phone and she says, Roy, Carol would not like you allowing that guy to do this to you. Carol will not like it. Remember that. Stand up for yourself. So, what can I say? What can I say? Of course everybody loved her. My gosh. You'd be crazy if you didn't. Yeah, Matthew D. Word, that's right. Damn good woman. Oh, jeez. They're few and far between. I've only met less than a handful. I mean, a lot of women are attractive. A lot of women are smart. A lot, they're all kind. Just like guys, they're all kinds. Those two, Carol and Bettina. Show you the picture. I can't. It's on there. Rats. Or I'd show it to you. Oh well, that's all right. Well, it looks like things have kind of slowed down. We've been going for an hour, 20 minutes. I suppose that's good enough. Doesn't look like we're going to have many more callers. And that's probably a good thing. So I'm going to hang up, all right? So anybody else who thought they were going to talk, we're just ending it now. I'm going to hang that up. Turn this off.
Power off.
And turn the phone off. I want to thank everybody for coming today. I know I did a whole bunch of stuff all over the place. Oh, I've seen her pic. She is lovely, yeah. And Carol and her are both unbelievably gorgeous. As a matter of fact, I don't think, like I said, I never saw Bettina in person, but I've seen many photographs of her in various some of the things during her life. She sent them to Felicia, and Felicia shared them with me. And pictures never do really beautiful women justice, and I know that was the case with my wife Carol as well. She was photogenic, but in person, Carol, I'm talking about, jaw dropping. I mean, just the fact of the matter. Hi, Lori Tillman. It's nice to see you. Thank you for being such a good friend and also useless knowledge. Thank you for being here. Mike Russell, same. Rastafari, I've already addressed you. The Most High designs them well. Yes, Matthew D. Word, that's right. There's Proverbs, Proverbs, I forget the exact chapter, but it talks about the woman whose value is far above the price of rubies, whose husband's heart trusts in her, and she does good by him all the days of his life. They are out there. I'll never replace Carol. Bettina's husband will never replace her. But, I do keep my eyes and ears open for somebody at least. And I don't expect anybody. Again, I do date. It's not been a lot lately. I've become a lot more, I think something's happened in the society that's made it extremely difficult. And of course, there's my background. People Google me, and they go, "Oh no, he's this guy here." They really have no idea anything about me. They probably see the YouTube channel too and go, "Oh, he's a right-wing extremist," or whatever. They really don't understand where I come from, and so they shut me down pretty quick. I have some lady friends, but I have not selected a girlfriend in quite some time. Yeah. All right, I guess we're done. Yeah, Matthew, the love between, and it says that natural affections shall go away in the last days. They will be lovers of pleasures and not lovers of God. Natural affection will be lost. And we have the environmental things, the government things, the institutions, the educational systems, even ecclesia. As I said, I blame the Christian traditions a lot for the problems that we're having today. And I'm not going to get into that today. Go to my religion series and review that if you want to see why. It's pretty extensive. I'm just not going to repeat all that here today, but I do blame the Christians for a lot of what's happened. Roy, I had them rock and roll dream, not anymore. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but anyway. Yeah, all right. I think we're done. Roy, why don't you and David Knight ever get together? Well, primarily because he moved to Tennessee, and I'm in Wyoming and Utah, and I travel around a lot. I've got kids all over the West, from Colorado to Washington State to Utah to Arizona. I've got family in California. I've got family back east, but not anywhere near Tennessee. So that's the reason why. And David, he's gone through a lot, and we'll text every once in a while. We'll talk on the phone every once in a while. I keep in touch with him on Twitter to some extent, but he's a busy guy, and I try not to be a nuisance. I'll pass him information every once in a while. I did on the Reese report, which he probably saw. But I sent him my tweet about Greg Reese's report, and that it's interesting that Alex fired David Knight. It's going to be interesting to see what he does to Greg Reese, if anything. So the consistency on Alex Jones' part is definitely lacking. Okay, guys. After this, check out the new YouTube channel called Mud Fossils. Amazing. Okay, yeah. Oh, and then, yeah. Saul Alinsky, top down, bottom up. Yeah. That's right. Saul Alinsky, the Frankfurt Institute, and the Marxist philosophies have all attacked us at our very basic human level, and that's why they're guided by demons, because they are attacking us at our human level and at the God DNA that's in a lot of us. They found a fallen angel perfectly intact. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. It's kind of like, I don't want to mention any names, but this, there are people that have done the blood analyses on the Shroud of Turin. And then there are those that say that they found blood in Jerusalem underneath where Jesus was crucified, which I know to be historically inaccurate. Sorry, the way it's if they went looking for Jesus' blood there, that's not the place. So I discount all of that. But anyway. All right. Petrified giants too, yeah. I'm not saying it's false. I'm just saying you got to be careful. Like I said a long time ago, before the digital age, I believe half of what I see and none of what I believe half of what I see and none of what I hear. And now it's I don't believe anything. I don't believe what I see or hear. I have to go through extensive proofs before I go down that road. Even the shooting that happened over the last few days, there are some problems with it. Okay? I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying it wasn't, what we've been told by the police department. But hopefully the police chief and those investigators did not give in to the FBI and allow them to control the narrative. But you never know. All right. We've gone now for almost an hour and a half. I better let you go. I'm gonna clean up here. Oh, they found these things in Morocco. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. That'd be a location to get some. Yeah, no question about that. All right, thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate your participation. My son Jeremy, we were going to do a live stream on Sunday. Some things happened where I was going to interview him on the phone like we did before and get into some other aspects of Psalms 82 and Genesis 1, some other things. But some things happened. He got sick, lost his voice, and two, without giving you too much information, I got stranded. A snowstorm hit and I was stranded. And then my phone went out and my car battery died because of the drop in the temperature and some other things. And then, of course, Felicia Lockhart was having her live stream on the secret about the blood, which I haven't seen the whole thing yet. I've seen parts of it. I suggest that you go to Felicia Lockhart's channel and watch that on the secret of the blood. I think it's a good discussion from what I've been able to put together so far. She had asked me to be pardon me, it's the coffee, latte, the milk actually. She had asked me if I could come on the show, but I knew there would be a problem with that because I had to go out of town and do some things with some people that I'd committed for before. And then, like I said, I got stuck in a snowstorm and I couldn't even get back later in the day to do the interview with Jeremy if he had been well. So it's just the way things happened. All right. Okay. Karen Carpenter, Southern Prepper, had a great video yesterday about how we deserve what's coming. Yeah, I agree. I agree. We, in a government like ours, the people are responsible. There are really few innocents in this thing. It's really true. Yet, by the same token, you stick your head up and it gets chopped off, right? Carol used to say, Roy, that's what happened to you, What do people think? Why do they come down on you? You stuck your head up above everybody else and the powers that be chopped it off. So don't blame yourself. Like you say, a few women like that, right? A few women like that. Most women want to blame you for every little thing. Not to attack you ladies, but boy, it certainly happens a lot these days. I could tell you some stories and I won't. I'll let it go. Yeah, the blade that rises gets cut. Oh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like these insulated cups, man. This is still, it's not hot anymore, but it's still warm. Okay, thanks again, everybody, for coming. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground, situational awareness on high. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Self-defense is okay. Don't go looking for trouble. Okay? If you're out this weekend, I don't know that this plan by the ne'er-do-wells, the confused people, is real, these threats. But if you don't take them seriously and you get caught somewhere unable to defend yourself, you or your family could be in dire straits. So just at least be aware of it. Keep your situational awareness on high and look out. The Greek writers were telling the truth. Well, how can I comment on that? I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say that the Greek writers, if you're talking about the gospel writers and the New Testament writers, even the Gnostic people, all that, you really don't know who those people were. You really don't. And I think what you need to come away with, in my estimation, are not the specifics. I think you need to come away with what I constantly harp on. Love God. You may not understand him. That's the way it is, but be in awe of that and everything. And it's not some lesser God that did all this unless it was under the direction of. Can you imagine a demiurge that is evil being able to do this without the supreme God not being aware of it and making sure that it goes the right way for his purposes? So I don't buy the Gnostic situation that the material world is totally evil. It has evil aspects. So does the spiritual world. If that were not the case, there wouldn't be the war in heaven, et cetera, right? Right. Marcio Jack, no, I'm not going to get into the rapture theory. All I'll say is it's a misinterpretation of the word cloud. That's in the original Greek. When you go back to the Hebrew, when you back it off into the Hebrew, it doesn't mean the clouds in the sky. There are several different meanings of it. Really what it means is that you see the truth. You see through the mist. You become aware. The scales fall from your eyes. It has more to do with that. Yeah, Lori Tillman. The demiurge is a sort of subcontractor. In the New Testament, that would be Jesus. Of course, then you get into Trinity, and you get into if Jesus was God, or he was God the Son, all that situation. But in reality, from the texts, there is a demiurge. There, even in the first chapter of Genesis, there's the Elohim Et, as I've explained before. So there is this system of lesser gods that perform the will of the supreme God. I'll just put it that way. And when they're doing his will, they're one with him. And so, yeah, the demiurge is real, but it was twisted under the Gnostic scriptures, as I explained in a video a week ago, that the Gnostics were Jews who felt that God betrayed them and abandoned them after the destruction of the temple. And so they came down, the divine counsel of Psalms 82. So they basically turned their back on that God because they thought he turned their back on them, and they came up with this elaborate, spiritualized, some good information in there, some good historical information if you can verify it with other accounts, be it Tacitus, Josephus, Pliny, those folks like that. If you can verify some of those things historically. But by and large, it was a total repudiation of what your life is here. And the Supreme God is not going to have you come here as a total waste of time. He's going to use it for his purposes at the very least. And I sincerely believe that there is a reunification of the physical with the spiritual. They're really not that far apart, and that the Shroud of Turin is real. I'm not convinced that it's the person that a lot of traditional Christians say it is, and I've talked about that before with the Samaritan prophet, the Teheb, et cetera, et cetera. But I do believe that the end result of all this is a reuniting of the physical with the spiritual for a fullness of joy, and it's a reuniting that's inseparable. And I think that is where all this is headed. So I don't put down the physical at all. It has some weaknesses, and the purpose of our lives here, if we look at it seriously, is to make it better. And I look forward to meeting my loved ones, both spiritually and physically, in the future. And where there's a father, there's a mother. Where there's a son, there's a father and a mother. We see manifested in the physical world the reality of heaven, what you consider heaven, eternal worlds, put it that way. Be thankful. It's a blessing. Out here for now.